All right, it's time for another beer, rum, and rock and roll rock shot. This time we're celebrating the 40th anniversary of the 10th studio album from Black Sabbath, Mob Rules. Released on November 4th, 1981, it went gold in the US, and it put two singles on the Billboard chart, the title track and Turn Up the Night. It followed 1980's Heaven and Hell and was the second album to feature lead singer Ronnie James Dio and the first with drummer Vinny Appice, who replaced drummer Bill Ward in the middle of the Heaven and Hell tour. It was recorded at the record plant in Los Angeles and was the last time the band would work with producer and engineer Martin Birch, who had also worked with Deep Purple, Rainbow, Whitesnake, and of course, Iron Maiden. The band's lineup consisted of Ronnie James Dio on vocals, Tony Iommi on guitar, Geezer Butler on bass, and Vinny Appice on drums. All right, as you can see, Jon Garner is back. How are you, man?
I'm really good, Randy. Good to see you again, pal.
Yeah, I didn't scare you off, I guess.
We hopefully didn't bore too many people with the monolith that was the last one, yeah.
Hey, we got some good traction on that Maiden review.
Excellent. Good.
Well, welcome back, buddy. We're going to talk about Black Sabbath Mob Rules, if that's all right with you.
Of course. What a record. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, man, I'm just going to throw it right to you. What are your memories of when that album came out and what impact it had on you?
Well, I have my original still.
Dude.
So you got the same? There we go.
Hello.
Like, yours already looks in way better shape than mine.
Well, you know me, buddy.
Yeah, I do.
I took the plastic sleeve off, you see. Yeah.
You know, I was not a diehard Sabbath fan like you. I sort of dipped my toe in and out, and I mean, some of it worked for me, some of it didn't. When Heaven and Hell came out, I was all in. And you know, I'm a Dio guy. I love Ronnie James Dio. Diehard Rainbow. Those first three records for Rainbow with Dio were some of the best music I think that's ever been put out. He just has this voice to him. When Mob Rules came out, I was just, really excited. We got another one. Where's this going to go? And it kind of felt like they were almost trying to repeat Heaven and Hell, which was in many ways such a departure. Forgive me if I keep going back to that record when we're clearly doing talking about Mob Rules, but
just to interrupt you, don't worry about that because there are bookends. Those two albums are a pair, so have at it.
They are very much together, and I think when that opening riff of Neon Nights comes in, for me, I was like, oh man, this is my kind of rock and roll. And it was the same thing with Turn Up the Night. Again, same thing. I mean, you couldn't have opened with a better track.
Yeah, for me, I'm the same, man. Like Heaven and Hell just blew my mind. And I was, like you said, I was already well into Sabbath. This is two different bands.
Right.
There's Ozzy Sabbath and Dio Sabbath. I mean, my heart's in the Ozzy Sabbath camp, but Heaven and Hell is fucking phenomenal. And this one is right here. Like it really is. I mean, I give the edge to Heaven and Hell, but this album fucking kicks ass. It must have been like, how do we follow that? Going into this album must have been like, what the hell? Because Ronnie hit it out of the park in Heaven and Hell, right? He comes in and just destroys. And then, okay, how do we follow this? Well, Mob Rules is fucking solid. It came close.
It starts off good. It builds. And yeah, for me, it does tailor off a little bit. But hey, not every band is killer from start to finish, right? On every record.
Absolutely, dude. Yeah, the first song I heard was Mob Rules because it came out on that heavy metal soundtrack, that movie, that animated movie. Remember that?
Right. That's right. Yeah.
It was on that. And I'm like, if the rest of the album is anywhere near this fucking good, we're laughing.
Right.
Oh, that track kills, right? I like the production. It's heavy. Like fucking Martin Birch killed it on that. And I saw this tour. I don't know about you. I saw this tour at the Stampede Corral in Calgary. They did 2 nights in a row. They did April 28th, 29th on that tour. I can't remember which one I was at. I mean, I am 56. So forgive me if I don't know which one. I was in grade 10 and I remember walking in there and it's just thick with pot smoke. And, you could see the upside down cross, kind of peeking out. I'm like, this is going to be off the chain. And it was fucking phenomenal. Yeah. Did you see this tour, or when's the first time you saw Sabbath, for that matter?
No, I didn't. I didn't see it. I've seen Sabbath once with a sort of a reunion with Ozzy, and then I saw this grouping. I think maybe with you when they came through Calgary as Heaven and Hell. We went to
Yes, we went together. That's
show.
right.
Obviously, one of Dio's sort of last hurrahs. I love that night. That was a great night for me.
Another thing that was knocking around in my mind was, some other albums that were out at the same time was Ozzy comes out with Diary of a Madman. So that's competition. And a young band named Iron Maiden put out Killers around the same time. So you got the former singer doing his thing, and you got these young guys coming in, so the old guys had to fucking do something that was decent.
Well, and interesting, right? That Martin Birch, who had produced Killers, you'd already mentioned it, was producing this, and there's an element of heaviness, I think. I mean, okay, Sabbath are the godfathers of heavy metal. I mean, they created that genre pretty much, but there's a beefiness and there's a little more power. You wonder whether there was an influence coming from Killers into that. Hard to say, but yeah, I mean, there's a very strong sound.
I could totally see that, man. Coming off Killers with those young guys into this one, I think was probably a good thing. Okay, dude, let's dive into these tracks and just talk about them briefly. There's only 9 of them. One's an instrumental, so really only 8. It's just over 40 minutes, and I love that.
Yep.
As opposed to Senjutsu. There's none of this 80-minute shit. 40 in and out. Perfect.
40 minutes. Wasn't that the first 2 tracks?
Exactly. We got all songs written by Ronnie James Dio, Tony Iommi, and Geezer. All lyrics credited to Ronnie James Dio. So this is new. It happened in Heaven and Hell and this one, where Ronnie takes over lyrically, where Ozzy was happy to let Geezer Butler write all the lyrics when he was in the band, right? Well, from what I gather, Geezer wasn't really digging this move, right? Because he's like, well, what am I doing? So to appease him, I read that they gave him songwriting credit on all the songs, even though Tony wrote most of that as well. So the egos were clashing already 2 albums in, right? He wants to write his own lyrics, and I get that. He's the singer, and he's a great lyricist, and it's a different vibe. They're very different, right? It's not the, satanic kind of thing. It's more, dragons and
rainbows
nights,
in that.
neon nights, that kind of stuff. Right. Push comes to shove. I mean, these 2 albums I like as much as any of the Ozzy stuff. They're that good.
Yeah.
In my
mind. I agree, and I think just for me, and I guess it's the sort of the musicality of it. It's what grabs you. Does that riff catch you straight away and turn up the night right out of the gate? It's like, okay, this is Tony Iommi. He's going off, and in comes Ronnie, and we're off into the races, right? And let's not forget Vinny Appice or Appice. I don't even know how he says his last name, but oh my God, such a great drummer. And pulling that whole thing together, what a great way to lead off.
Yeah, exactly, man. That first track is killer. Dio comes in with the rumble of thunder. I'm suddenly under your spell. I mean, I'm in. It's so awesome. Well, if you look at, I hate to keep going back to this, but if you look at this album in Heaven and Hell, track for track, it's very similar as you go in terms of, like you said, Neon Nights, Turn Up the Night, the fast one. They're very similar in that track order.
Where they're slotted, right? Exactly.
Yeah, which is fine with me.
I had zero problem with it. And I'd seen more than a couple of comments, and Tony himself in his memoir had mentioned that, maybe we should have given a little bit more thought to that, but we'd have been criticized one way or another. I'm sure you can get completely paralyzed, to the point of not doing anything when you start to overanalyze this. But I think, you wonder too is, whether there were those pressures because of the other music that's coming out at that time with Ozzy, with Maiden, and, plethora of other bands. Like, this has got to stack up to Heaven and Hell, which it does. Musically, for sure it does. Quite frankly, Randy, if this record had come out first, we're probably having the same conversation about Heaven and Hell.
I agree 100%. And just to get back to that opening track, Tony's solo is smoking. And I also love how he does those, I'll call it a mini solos in the chorus. Like when Ronnie says, turn up the night, then he goes, like he does these little tasty little mini solos throughout the whole thing. And Ronnie sounds killer. He just sounds unreal.
He's an opera singer in leather pants.
He totally is, man. Okay, man, let's move to track number 2, Voodoo. Say you don't know me, you'll burn. I mean, come on. This is a fucking heavy, heavy riff. It's got a monster groove on it. And again, I love the solo. It's not your straight ahead solo. It's really interesting what he does. And then he does a cool outro solo again. There's lots of Tony soloing on this album, man. And this one got played every night on the live set for this tour. So that tells you something.
This to me sort of dialed back that pace into what I consider sort of more standard Sabbath tempo. It's a little slower. It's for sure darker. And it was, very much sort of, if you like, a sort of a restamping of, hey, this is what we do. We do it better than anyone else.
God, they really do. And I'm going to say this word a bunch, groove. The groove on this stuff, like you could play that riff and it's a great riff, but if you don't have a groove behind it, it just, it's going to be flat. They just fucking groove the shit out of this stuff, man. It's just killer. Okay, we both love that one. Let's go to 3, Sign of the Southern Cross. So this is one of 2 longer, I call them more epic tracks. There's this one and another one we'll get to later. It's got that cool acoustic opening from Tony, and then Ronnie showcases like a mellower delivery, right?
Exactly, Randy. This is harkening back to Rainbow Eyes of the World for me with Ronnie. He's telling a story. And probably one of the greatest storytellers in this genre of music, and he can belt it out, and he can then draw you in, and basically, hey, come sit down by my side. I'm going to tell you a story.
Man, when you're in grade 10, this stuff you can feel is like that little evil kind of just dark vibe about the whole thing, and it's very compelling, man. Like as a teenager, I was eating this shit up. So that acoustic bit doesn't last long. That big doomy is the word for me. That doomy riff comes in. Oh my God, it's just wicked.
I love those songs where they're soft, they go up, they go fast, they come back, and hey, I like a fast song as much as anybody, you know that. But when you get all those different elements in, I mean, so why I love Heaven and Hell so much, Fear of the Dark, those songs that move around. The standard is coming at some point. Can we just get that?
I read that it's Geezer's favorite song on the album. One of the reasons is during the verses, there's that cool effect on his bass, hey? He likes it for that reason, a little something different bass-wise, right? And then I just want to point out, going back to Ronnie's lyrics, man, he shines on this one. So I'm going to read this. From the book, the word is spoken, whispers from forgotten psalms. Gather all around us, young ones, they will make us strong. Reach above your dreams of pleasure, giving life to those who died. Look beyond your own horizons. Sail the ship of signs. It's the sign of the Southern Cross. Like when I'm in grade 10, man, I'm up to my eyeballs in Rat and Cinderella and all this stuff. This ain't that. And it's a refreshing change of pace, right? Like it's just awesome. It's poetry. He's a fucking phenomenal lyricist, right?
And pretty deep. I, for sure, back then didn't get it because, I mean, you were grade 10, I was grade 8. I wasn't listening that hard, I would say. Catching them, but maybe not really getting the meaning of them. As I've sort of grown older, you catch on again, you listen again, and it's like, oh, there's something a little bit stronger going on here, which I'm going to bring up in one of the later tracks too.
And you make a good point there. It's, hey, I'm not going to sit here saying in grade 10, I was understanding exactly what he was saying. You just knew it was different. This isn't chicks and cars and partying.
Which maybe I didn't really have that much interest.
Hey, I like both those things. Okay, man, let's move on. So I'm going to pair these up. Tracks 4 and 5. You got E5150, which is this really cool, eerie sounding instrumental piece. It's really cool. It's just evil. And then that segues right into Mob Rules. So that instrumental just sounds fucking cool as shit. And that's how they started the show. They would play that instrumental over the PA, pre-recorded. But here's the thing. When I saw this tour, they don't segue into Mob Rules, which I think was a mistake. Right. I think they should have done that. They went into Neon Nights, which I love, but play that one later. Like, they should have hit it with Mob Rules. That's all I'm saying. And then when we saw them as Heaven and Hell, same thing. They blast E5150. I'm like, please, let it be Mob Rules. Not only wasn't it Mob Rules, it wasn't even a fast track. It was this slow fucker. And then they played Mob Rules after that. No. If I was in charge, dude, that never would have happened. You come out and just hit them in the balls. You fucking come out hard with Mob Rules. You would have just been going crazy. Then you bring it down. And have I ranted enough on that? Go ahead.
We have this kind of time. I mean, once you get going, you're a hard man to slow down. You sort of made E5150 and Mob Rules this genre of Sabbath's Hellion and Electric Eye. You'll never hear Hellion and Electric Eye separately. Hellion is not leading into Screaming for Vengeance or A Touch of Evil, right? It's the lead into Electric Eye. They just don't happen one without the other. And E5150 is the intro to Mob Rules. Stop the nonsense. Like, get over yourselves.
That's a perfect comparison. Hellion, Electric Eye. That's perfect, dude. It's exactly like that. You keep them together, man. Come on.
That was the Sammy Hagar Taylor talking.
There you go. Let's talk about Mob Rules. I mean, oh, come on. This song, it gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. It's so awesome. It's so badass. I fucking love the speed of it. I love the riff. I love Tony's solo. I love the lyrics. If you listen to Fools, the Mob Rules, come the fuck on. It's amazing.
Podcast, of course, because this record is now 40 years old. But could you have a more poignant statement from 40 years ago that hangs as much true today if you listen to Fools, the Mob Rules? I listen to the song and I'm blah, blah, blah. I'm driving more often than not when I'm listening to this. I'm driving along and it's just, you know, when he's playing, I'm singing along and people pulled up the lights think I'm an idiot. But then again, when I was doing my homework, you've pushed me here, Randy. You know, I started to listen to these things more. I'm like, they were saying something 40 years ago, which is every bit as true, if not even more true today. And I'm not a huge one in having my music send a message or say a message. I just like to be entertained by my music. But there's pieces of it periodically. You go, you're right on the money there.
That's a really good point, dude. I never even thought of that. You're totally right, man. And yeah, I'm a music first, lyrics second guy. Like, the music's got to grab me first, like you said, and then I start looking at the lyrics. But yeah, they are saying something. Yeah, it applies to today for sure, man. Okay, let's move on to track number 6. Fell in Love with a Country Girl. Country Girl. It's a good riff. Not Tony's strongest, but it's good. On the Tony curve, though, it's a bit weak, a bit of a poppy feel. Not my fave on the album. If I had a gun to my head and I had to get rid of a track, this would be the one. It's okay. I'm not reaching for the skip button, but it's the weakest one on the album, I think. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I'm sure there's a story in there somewhere. Someone got miffed by somebody, or I know a few country girls, and yeah, it's like
somebody got laid in a barn somewhere.
Right? I don't fall in love with the country girl. Well, there's a reason for that. Ronnie's lyrics. Maybe it was a rough afternoon, or they needed so many songs, and that's what he came up with.
And to your point earlier, they can't all be home runs, man. Come on.
No.
Okay, dude, let's move on from that one. Let's go to Slipping Away, number 7. What are your thoughts on that one?
I like this one. With so many of these songs, not just on this album, but any of the music we listen to, that opening hook, does it grab you? And this one does for me. For a Sabbath song, frankly, I find it a bit of a sing-along. I can sing along to this one. I like this one. Yeah.
I agree, man. It's a bit Zeppelin-y, that riff. It's got great groove. And it's a different feel than anything on the album, which I'm all for. You don't want 10 tracks that sound like Mob Rules and Voodoo. At least I don't. You've already got those. So yeah, this is cool, man. And I also love when the solo comes up, because it's coming. Tony and Geezer trade guitar and bass licks back and forth. That's really cool, I thought. It's a strong song. I like this one a lot.
Probably for me, with Mob Rules and Turn Up the Night 1 and 2. This would be right up in my sort of third fave on the list, frankly.
Okay, dude, moving right along. Track number 8. Think you're safe, but you're wrong. We're falling off the edge of the world. Falling off the edge of the world. This is the other one I would call epic. There's 3 parts to this song. You got part 1, the mellow intro. Ronnie's singing over strings. How fucking cool is that? What's the lyric? I should be at the table round, a servant of the crown, the keeper of the sign, to sparkle and to shine. I mean, fuck. Mwah, perfect, right? And then part 2, you get the doomy riff. You get everything in this song. Now you get the doomy riff, comes in for a bit. And then the fucking key is part 3. It wraps right the fuck up for the main riff, and it slays. This song is so fucking metal. It's so amazing. This is my favorite song on the album. I don't know if you can tell. It's got it all, dude. It's got everything Sabbath does on 11. To you.
Yeah, not mine. I don't know. It's
what?
I know.
Well, look at the time.
Okay, folks. This is the last time you're seeing John on Beer, Rum, Rock and Roll. Hey, we've argued over way less than this.
You know what? I'm gonna like this because, hey, if we agree on everything, that's fucking boring. So go ahead, tear this one apart.
The last piece, like part 3 you're talking about, I agree. It took me way too long to get there, to the point that the kettle was already boiling. I was making my tea. I couldn't remember whether I'd put the milk in. Where am I? Oh, shoes. I gotta get shoes. I was just, I got lost.
Oh my God. Could you be more wrong? Oh man. Well, that new Maiden album must have really been torture if this took too long.
I guess the thing is that it didn't make me pick the needle up and put it back and say, oh, I got to listen to the start of this again. For you, my brother, I will try harder next time.
Hey, fair enough, man. It hits your ears how it hits it, right? I'm just busting your balls. But like to that point, I guess what I love about it is because you wait, you're not expecting that fast riff to come in. The first time you hear it, you think this is going to be another doomy Sabbath track. And then it fucking turns on a dime and it's like, yeah, that's the payoff for me. Maybe that's what I love about it, right? Okay, well, I think we've been long enough on track number 8. Let's go to 9. Over and Over, this one's called. So that's kind of ironic. Hopefully this one didn't bore you too much. This is the slow ballady track, I would call it. A different feel again, but I dig it, man. I think it's a cool way to end the album. Cool change of pace. It's the only song, and this, you could take this however you want, on the album that was never played live on the tour.
I think it's a good album song. I can 100% see why with everything else that they've got here, if they were like, shit, to get to the last show, hey, we haven't played Over and Over. Yeah, I guess it's not being played. For me, because what I was alluding to right at the start is the first, 2/3, 3/4 of this album. I think I said 2/3, but 3/4 of this album really got me. Then, yeah, I faded away. Falling Off the Edge of the World and Over, they didn't blow my socks, which is probably, well, again, one of those reasons why it wasn't a record I kept on coming back to. Like the last song didn't make me go, holy Christ, I got to start this thing again. Which Heaven and Hell did.
I get that, but I mean, let's talk about Heaven and Hell again. I mean, Wishing Well and Lonely Is the Word, those aren't exactly showstoppers either. Like I think Heaven and Hell has got a couple weak links in it as well.
Sure. No, for sure.
Songs I like, but they're not on the level of, Neon Nights and Heaven and Hell and Children of the Sea and this stuff, right? Or Die Young, that is the fucking shit on that album. Oh my God. Okay, we're not reviewing that album, so let's not go down that rabbit hole. Okay, man, let's sum up. So to sum up, give me your quick little summary of what your thoughts are on this album overall.
It more than stands up. It stands up on its own. It stands the test of time. It's still a kick-ass heavy metal record. Folks, if you don't have it in your inventory, get out to your local record store and go grab it. You will not be disappointed.
Well put. It's as good as you could have wanted, really. And if, in my opinion, it's the last really good Sabbath album. There's good ones after this, but this was the last really fucking good one.
The Gillan era had, some good stuff, but not an album's worth like this for me.
I could talk for half an hour about Born Again. I fucking love that album, but again,
right.
I don't put it on this level. Right.
No.
So just to give people an idea what happened moving forward. So yeah, there was, like I said, there's some conflict in the band at this point. So it came to a boil. They did a live album called Live Evil from the Mob Rules tour. And they started butting heads over the mix and stuff. And Dio and Vinny Appice just said, see ya. And they formed Dio. I mean, I'm condensing this, but that's what happened. This lineup got back together in 92 for Dehumanizer, which is a good album, but again, not on this level, right? And then they reunite again, 2006, for Heaven and Hell. They couldn't call it Sabbath for legal reasons. They released an album, again, good, just not on this level, man. And they also released a Blu-ray from this tour. I've got it right here. It's Heaven and Hell at Radio City Music Hall, live in New York City. Highly recommend it. It's awesome, man. Okay, thanks for hanging, bud. I'm sure we'll do this again sometime. Throw on Falling Off the Edge of the World when we're done this and see if you change your mind.
All right, buddy.
Okay. Don't forget to follow us on all the socials, hit subscribe, support the channel. we're doing it anyway, but the more people looking, the more fun it is, man. And comment, tell us what you think of this fucking album. Do you like it? Not like it? Okay, Garner, we're out. Peace.